Cecilia, a mother of 3, lived with her 14-year-old sick daughter for many months in the brand new St. Olavs Hospital in Trondheim, Norway. On the 7th of June in 2009, the doctors had to tell her that there was no longer any hope of her daughter surviving cancer. A devastating thing to be told, which of course triggers an avalanche of emotions. Cecilia was going through the toughest time of her life, but she also wanted to protect her daughter from losing all hope. She had to leave the hospital room, to be alone. But where could she go? Where could she cry, shout, be angry, or just be silent? Everywhere she went, even in the hospital chapel, she would be part of the public realm. She ended up in the public toilet, and you can guess where she had to sit. A practical solution, but without any dignity. In NTNU Live Studio, we support architect students working with real people and real problems. We heard the story about Cecilia and her daughter from a friend of us, Mats Bøhle, a welfare nurse at the hospital. This was the start of a wonderful, tough, and emotional journey for all of us, the making of Freedom. Freedom, which means space of freedom, became the simple yet challenging assignment to create a safe enclosure for patients and relatives to escape the exposed hospital environment. The project started as a master thesis in architecture by the students Maren Storeli Ødegård and Sunniva Hus Nordby, and they approached Freedom through a collaborative process. In this approach, we involve users and other stakeholders in all phases and all decisions of the design. Through this involvement, we get deep insight in the real needs, and we ultimately lead the users to gain ownership over the process and the space. In the early stages of the design, Maren and Sunniva had many decisions to make. For example, how large should Freedom be to host 1, 2, or 3 people in vulnerable situations? How much space do you need to feel comfortable? And how much space do these people need? To explore this question, they visited the hospital priest, who has quite a lot of experience in talking with people going through tough times. They observed this setup and measured how far he typically would sit away from a visitor. This helped them to determine the size and the furnituring of the space. If you are not educated as an architect, you might not speak the language of blueprints. That is why it's very important for us to use alternative and good communication to establish a real collaboration platform. Among other tools, we built several forms in real size and invited family of patients and staff to try them out and to explore them. Based on their feedback, it was quite clear to us that they preferred a circular space, because it's focused around the center, it gives stillness, and it stands in contrast to the 10,500 angular spaces in the hospital. We designed a spiral-shaped pavilion where the snail form gently leads you into the main enclosure without many doors or transitions needed. Due to the commitment of the young architects and many helping hands, we finally could lift the prefabricated pavilion on the roof terrace of the St. Olavs Hospital on the 7th of June 2013, on the day 4 years after Cecilia's sad experience initiated the making project. You reach the pavilion via a roof terrace with great views over the city of Trondheim and the surrounding nature. And being in Norway, it could be snowing, rainy, or sunny sometimes. Whatever weather, the interviewed families told us that for them it's very important to get this distance and transition from the sterile and controlled hospital environment. Then we enter the space, sit down on the bench, take off your shoes, hang up your jacket, and prepare for a relaxed day. And as well, you show that the space is occupied. You lay down on the mattress which fills the main space and watch the changing sky, the clouds, the stars. Your focus is lifted up, and the verticality in the room gives associations to sacred buildings without being linked to one religious expression. We do know from research that natural materials contribute to healing effects, and we often connect the use of wood to familiar and comfortable environments. That's why we wanted to produce the whole pavilion completely out of local wood resources. We combined traditional lockhouse techniques and modern digital production and milled out 24,000 of these bricks out of leftover pine wood. And then we assembled the bricks like a large puzzle. And if you look closely, no two blocks look the same. Maren and Sunniva aimed to create this feeling so that those using the pavilion could look at the patterns, get another focal point, and drift away. And users told us that watching the wall gives the same experience as watching flames in a fireplace. The tree rings start to vibrate and the wall gets vivid. There's a swarm of origami trees circling around the skylight in the ceiling. They are based on an old Japanese legend and a story about Hiroshima bomb victim Sadako Sasaki, which tells that if you fall 1,000 cranes, you are granted a wish. We folded cranes in several workshops with patients, relatives, and friends, and even if there are not 1,000 cranes in freedom, they still express hope and ownership. And due to limited resources, as we often have in our projects, we had to do the wiring ourselves. Because we put small light bulbs in the cranes, and we wanted to make them glow and twinkle. And you can imagine what happens when amateurs like me or my daughter do this kind of work. Quite a few of them broke. So Mats Bøhle, the welfare nurse, is taking care of the freedom on a daily basis, and he wanted to fix the fittings. And the young patients asked him not to. They told us that for them, the extinguished lights have become symbols for loved ones that have passed away. So, even without knowing the story of Sadako Sasaki, the physical space of freedom has become intertwined with their stories, their hopes, and their feelings. Through use, the patients and their parents have established the feeling of ownership and contribute to the evolving space. There are many Cecilias out there. Mothers, brothers, sisters, friends, and strangers. Let's listen to their needs. Thank you.